I think ink is something that captures those fleeting thoughts that want to run away from us unless we write it down. And ink is also magic because it can hold a moment, it can stop time, and it can tell us about times that passed before we were born. And so what I want to talk to you tonight about, my story tonight, is about the ink that is contained in letters. Letters home from a sailor to his mother. I recently came into possession of a group of letters written by my Uncle Jack, written to his mother, my grandmother, Ethel, while he was in the Navy from 1938 to 1941. Now, my uncle was a very smart boy. He hated school. He was so smart. Like, it was just beyond. He just didn't want to have anything to do with that. He wanted to go and see the world and learn everything he could. And so as soon as he had his diploma in his hand, he enlisted in the Navy in 1938. In 1938, when he finished that basic training that all sailors have to go through, he actually boarded his first ship here in Philadelphia, in the Navy Yard here. And he boarded the USS Phoenix. And the USS Phoenix had just been built. And so he was part of the crew on her maiden voyage in 1938. And that was the ship on which he served throughout his naval career. So the letters begin in 1938, and they begin in this really enthusiastic, excited voice. For he was reporting back to his mother the adventures that he was on. He wrote about, for example, the first time that he crossed the equator. Now, when a sailor crosses the equator, veteran sailors who've done this before have this whole initiation, crazy ceremony, crazy like frat, the way frats are, young guys are phasing, thank you, that thing. So, so the new crew are hazed into the fellowship or the fraternity of those sailors who have crossed the equator. So he, in his letter, talks about the shenanigans that go on during that sort of hazing process. He writes about his experiences in South America, in Buenos Aires, and he talks about how beautiful he thinks that city is, and how clean it is, and how warm and friendly and kind the people are there that he meets. He encloses a bit of money and says, "Mother, use this just for something for yourself." In 1939, his letters are about his pride in the fact that the admiral of the whole Navy has boarded his ship to participate in the inspection of his ship, and how proud he was that their ship passed that inspection with passing grade, full colors. In 1940, his letters are now describing how the crew have been out exercising and practicing using their anti-aircraft guns on the ship, and also the machine guns on board the ship. And he writes, "Boy, it was so great. I wish you could see the fire belching from the guns and the explosions of the shells high in the air. We hit every target. I wish you could see it." But from there, the ink trail runs thin. The letters stop. I have also a clipping from a community newspaper where my grandmother lived, saying that Jack Harmon had survived the attack on Pearl Harbor in December of 1941, and that his ship had also survived that and will continue to serve the naval forces. The ink trail ends there, And so we rely on our family lore. Family lore tells us that my Uncle Jack was on the USS Phoenix when it was in port in Fremantle, Australia. It was serving in the South Pacific at the time. And my uncle got lost. He disembarked and he got lost. And when they found him, we don't know how long he was lost or where they found him, but when they found him, he did not know where he was or how he got there. So the Navy sent him home right away, gave him an honorable discharge. And he spent nearly 2 decades in the VA hospital being treated for what they called schizophrenia. But I would also say that it was what we know today as post-traumatic stress disorder. I knew my uncle as the man after the war. He was always a constant figure in our family celebrations and holiday get-togethers. He would sit in that chair right there in the corner of the living room, silent, watching what's going on. Never had much to say, as many World War II veterans do not have much to say. They don't like to talk about it, but my uncle had no memory of his naval career and had no memory of what happened to him that day in Australia. And so I have come to really treasure the ink that is in those letters because they give me a glimpse of the man my uncle used to be, in contrast to the uncle that I knew in my life. And it makes me also understand and appreciate the sacrifice that he gave to us as a country and to me, his family. And so I'm grateful for ink tonight, and thank you for letting me share the story.